Hello, I'm Hedley Thorneh and welcome to Wessex Ways.
James, go and get your dad.
Roll the music.
Hello, Hedley. Welcome back, Hedley.
I'm sorry. I don't know what happened there. You turn your back for a minute, and then he's here, and I don't know. Teenagers, eh? Go away. Welcome to Wessex Ways, everyone. I'm very sorry for that shaky start. I hope everyone is well. Those of you on YouTube, you can probably see we have another special guest today. So welcome everyone to the one, the only, Warren Brand.
Hey.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me along this evening.
That's all right. It's great to have you along. So, do you want to just explain a little bit about yourself and your channel?
Well, yes, I'm Warren Brand. Linleys 360. It's a YouTube channel. I don't have much in the way of social presence apart from YouTube. A little bit of Instagram, but basically YouTube. And as may well be drawn out during our debate and discussion, I've got a wealth of mix of interest to share on the channel as well.
You do. I mean, I follow you for your... I call you an adventurer, by the way. I label you as an adventurer.
Adventurer. That sounds good.
Mostly UK-based adventurers, great. But yeah. I know Paul's more interested probably in the sort of your model railways. And,
well, isn't it such a brilliant thing that we've got so many different sort of random crossovers of interests, including, and I don't even know if people know that I like my model railways. So yeah, Warren covers quite a lot of those on his YouTube channels.
Oh yes.
So yeah, I think it's going to be quite an interesting little podcast for us all. Maybe not the listeners, but hey, who cares?
Hey.
Well, I mean, we mainly talk about things in Wessex, and I think we're going to be a little bit unfaithful to Wessex at times in this particular episode, but that's fine. We're all from Wessex, but we do stray a little bit outside of Wessex, and Warren's been a bit of an influence on me in recent weeks as I started straying into areas that he
positive influence, I hope.
Well, yeah, I mean, hopefully health benefits. I've given up hills and taken up mountains, basically, yeah, no, it's great. So so your channel is Linleys 360. I got to ask straight off, what's the name about? Come on.
Okay. So the name, it's not a person. The real origin of the name Linleys goes back probably over 100 years. But the most recent incarnation of that is a shop name. It was a tailor's shop owned by my grandfather back in the sort of 30s, 40s and 50s through to the early 60s before he retired. And it was a tailor's shop in northwest London, a double-fronted, old-fashioned, if you imagine these old films, like you walk into a shop, gentleman's outfitter's shop, wooden frames, glass top, handkerchiefs all laid out, that's the shop. Linleys. Rather like the name, so I sort of thought I'd just keep it going, really, keep it alive.
Yeah. No, great. That's great. I mean, I work long shifts indoors in Heathrow's control room, and when I get my little breaks, I'm always looking for watching stuff to do with the countryside, but also sort of camping and walking and everything. And that's stumbled on your channel quite a long time ago, actually. And I was planning to climb, I think it's Pennyfan and Corndu and all that at the time, and it was your video because you went up from a certain side, and so we copied that. I've been copying you a lot.
Yeah.
And you also did one on the what's it? The canal. Paul, help me out.
In South Wales.
Canal.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
I have explored the canal along. There's the Brecon Canal, but I've explored particularly the Basingstoke Canal.
I haven't watched it. So have you done the proper Basingstoke Canal, Warren, as in sort of your neck of the woods, almost like North Hampshire across Surrey into...
Well, all of it started sort of in the middle area near the Farnborough airfield, and worked my way with a mate, just slowly, bit by bit, walked along the canal towards London under the M25, and then a little bit of the Way navigation. Did that probably 2 or 3 years ago, and then the following year started back at Farnborough airfield. Just seemed an important thing to finish the job, really. And then we worked west over a series of Saturdays, all the way through towards Basingstoke, and got to the Greywell Tunnel. And explored just the other side of the Greywell Tunnel. Really curious about whether there's any water there. I know you've visited there as well, of course, and other people. And is there water? What can you see? So I just had some fun walking along the canal, and I've blogged it a little bit as of course as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love that sort of. I think they call it the last 5 miles, don't they? After the Greywell Tunnel. And there's a lot there, considering it's just 5 miles, including that sort of abandoned boat. So if you do turn up there in the dry or a drought, I don't know if you've seen it, but in the arm, I can't remember what it's called. It was a Brickwork Arms, probably.
That's right, Brickwork Arm. That's where I stopped.
Okay. Yep. Well, they're in the arms. I don't know what the water level was like when you went.
Not a lot. It was boggy. I managed to walk along the bottom part of the track of the canal bed. Nearer the tunnel, but by that little branch arm, the Brickwork Arm, it was too boggy.
Fair enough. Well, there's obviously a submerged barge in there, which is just an amazing sight. There's a little bit more, another mile or so, and you've got another small tunnel, which is not easy to get to because it's on sort of private land. But there's a couple of other nice bridges. It's a lovely area, really gorgeous area, as you know. But I've never done much of the actual Basingstoke Canal. The part obviously you walked the majority of. I'd love to have a further explore up there, actually.
Worth a wander.
Yes.
Popular by cyclists as well.
Yeah. Okay, excellent.
Take your electric bike up, Paul.
I always worry about that, because I always think, cycling alongside a canal I always worry about anyway, because I'm normally just sort of looking aimlessly around the place. And I just figure one day I'm going to go in there. But as my father once said, he says, "All right, if you fall in, just close your mouth."
It is very shallow.
Yes, of course, 3 or 4 feet deep at worst, I guess.
So, Warren, you've been, you also, or rather mostly, stray a little bit outside of Wessex and go to the slightly more vertical areas. More vertical. Yes, and I particularly have a fondness, obviously, of Brecon Beacons. Now, I wanted to just explain to our listeners a little bit about how complicated the Brecon Beacons are. So, you've got Brecon Beacon National Park, which is now called Banno Brycheiniog.
Oh, very impressive.
The centre of the Brecon Beacons is called the Brecon Beacons, and then the west of the Brecon Beacons is called Black Mountain. The east of the Brecon Beacons is called the Black Mountains, and it's got a mountain in it called Black Mountain. I give up. So it's a very complicated place, and I just label it as basically the east, the middle, and the west. Seems to be a little bit easier. But I used to do long bike rides around the Black Mountains, the east. We used to do 135k with 2,500 metres of climbing, and we'd really go for it around there. But I can't do it now. I'm too old and fat now. But what I can do is I've just started sort of going up some of the actual climbs that you've been doing, albeit not carrying a rucksack the weight of a person like you do. But I think the first place I loved was the Table Mountain and Pen Calch. above it.
The mountain behind. Yes, absolutely.
mountain behind,
Lovely,
yeah.
lovely area.
Isn't it amazing? And the problem there is we went up past Table Mountain and we went up, started going up Penkerrick Calf, but the weather just closed in. And then my favourite area of the lot, and it's one that you've been to many times, is the Western Fans, the Black Mountain, basically, with the two lakes.
With the two lakes.
Linny Fan Fach and Linny Fan 4, I think it is. And where you met Paul Mesner on top.
Indeed.
Yeah. Wow. What an area. I mean, I was, new to this area until last weekend. And we camped down at the Wildman Woods campsite. So I'm not quite on wild camping yet. It's wild camping just with a toilet nearby.
Small steps, Hedley, small steps. All adds up.
Small steps.
Excellent start. Excellent.
I'm still at the back garden step of this whole venture, so
yeah. I'm not sure my new tent is quite up to the wind resistance of your Black Label Hillyberg Sulu just yet.
Step by step. Just get the gear as you can.
Yeah. I've been looking at the Verne one as a potential tent, so I think that's
Good
probably
tent.
the way I'm going. I don't know whether to get the poly cotton or the normal, but I'm boring now, aren't I? So. What's your favourite part of Brecon Beacons then?
Is that well? I think I've covered all mountains in all directions in all weather over the years. Do I have a favourite? Corndhu would be my number one favourite. A variety of reasons. It's very accessible. You can do it from different directions, from the north, from the south, from the Story Arms, from the east, from the west, and the views are just stunning.
So why Corndhu rather than Pennyvan?
Pennyfan's the top, and that's a go-to place. It's always very, very busy. Corndhu, you can look down on the little tarn, little lake down below. Yeah, very recently, January. Corndhu has to be Corndhu.
Wow, that's interesting. I've never heard anyone say Corndhu is their favourite, but it makes sense because you've got the same views as Pennyvan to the north and to the south. It's pretty much as high as Pennyvan, and the routes up it are great. I went up Pennyvan with my son in the fog. And we went from the north. We actually walked from Brecon, so it's quite a long walk.
Yeah,
we went up the ridge, and then we went across to Corndhu, and then my map reading skills failed, and we thought we were going down the same way, and we ended up at just near the Story Arms.
Yeah,
so we had to
very
go back
easy.
over both mountains. Yeah. Very difficult, but wonderful area.
Leaving Pennyvan from the top, always take a compass bearing because there are no easy visuals.
Yeah. Well, I made the mistake thinking I'd just rely on Google Maps, but it just doesn't work well enough.
No.
It really doesn't. And if it's raining, your phone doesn't work anyway. So.
Google Maps. We like Google Maps, but not on mountains. Sorry.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And even with OS maps, I mean, I've got OS maps on my phone, but even there, the phone doesn't always, because the phone doesn't always know exactly where you are, and if the weather's bad, it doesn't know which way you're facing either. So it's
totally.
it is best, just as you say, just to get a compass bearing and go back to that. Afterwards.
I'm very old school with navigation. You've got to get it right. You've got to get it right. Yeah. Paper map, compass as the starting point. I use my phone. Google Maps are not included in that option. But OS Maps, it's good for tracking. But the proper navigation, paper map and a compass.
And I mean, you really do go out in all conditions, don't you? There's been some times where you're having to cower in your tent, cuddling your custard. We'll get onto that. No, actually, I do like custard. But, you've got this tent that, let's face it, it's not a cheap tent, but it is built for what you do. This is not built for a family campsite. This is built to be like a limpet on the top of a mountain. And it's a wonderful, wonderful bit of kit. And because of that, it enables you to do all of these things and go out regardless of the weather. And you and Dan from Camp Life Bushcraft, have I got that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have, yeah. I've
absolutely
subscribed to him as well. It's really, really good. Really good. the equipment you have enables you to do these things, and I can't do that because I don't have the standard of equipment yet. But as you say, bit by bit, you kind of get there. But no, it's amazing adventures you do, and you do really like your custard. It's not.
Yes.
You always
there's
have
been
custard.
well, always. Usually. Let's go usually. I could
Usually.
blag the always, but usually. There's been a recent thread about Warren's custard. There's a series of videos that have been out on YouTube, but pulling my legs slightly, I love it. And indeed, my video version isn't out yet. There is a version of custard available from an online supplier that is marketed as Warren's Custard. It's my merch.
Oh, look at that.
No, it's a fake,
wow.
total fake, but it's lovely. So
brilliant.
in a video that'll be out very soon, there will be Warren Custard.
You've made it when there are YouTube videos mocking you. I mean,
I love it.
For Paul, he's got his own spitting image character, but wow, and I mean, it's good enough. I get cooking tips from you as well. Although when I went with my eldest camping in Brecon Beacons, we tried one of those. Is it Summit to Eat meals?
Something to eat, yeah.
So these are quite expensive. They're like army rations. They're freeze dried. And immediately when you say freeze dried, you think of it's going to taste like a pot noodle. But we cooked them, and wow, absolutely stunning. The taste was really, really good. I'd be happy if someone dished that up for me for Sunday best sort of thing.
Well, we could follow that thread and debate that further.
We could, couldn't we?
We could.
Because we had an informal title for this podcast was "Things Taste Better on a Hill."
Yeah.
So if you're up a hill so this is my theory. If you're up a hill and it's pouring with rain or snowing or whatever, and you're in a tent and you've struggled up there and you're wet, you're cold, anything you eat tastes good. So you could serve up tinned ravioli, whatever, cooked on a stove, it will taste good. And yet if you went down a restaurant with your other half and someone served you that, you'd be absolutely offended. Things just taste better. Today I was on Tan Hill in Wiltshire, and I took up a gas stove and I made my own chili con carne at the top, and it just tastes amazing. If I made it in my own kitchen, it'd be like, it's just chili con carne. But up the top of Tan Hill today, it just tasted amazing. I'm sitting there looking at the view, eating a hot meal. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Food does taste better on a mountain. I agree.
It does.
Something to eat.
Absolutely.
Good products. There are lots of others, of course. I'm for one for adding a little bit of sauce to these rehydrated meals. I don't know if you caught my sort of thread on that.
Yeah.
I usually just add one of these little packets of sauce. Just adds an extra dimension. Not necessarily improves the flavour, just adds a bit of sauce, because I do find them a bit dry sometimes.
Because you get those. I mean, we've seen. I think we've all probably seen them in the local petrol station. These chicken balls for £1, basically.
Oh no, yeah.
You know what I mean.
You're not going to go.
You know the ones I mean.
Are you going to go there?
Yes, I'm going to go there. So you get these little meatballs, the ready-to-eat things. Get a pack of that rice that, let's face it, you can microwave in under a minute. Bung it all together, put some sauce in it, and you've actually got a substantial meal that you can cook while you're coming. I've seen you do it, Warren. I've seen you.
I do not deny that. In fact, well, you are right, and of course you've seen my videos. So yes, one was like an emergency purchase from a small shop in a petrol station, Crickhowell actually. Just along Crickhowell.
Yes.
We know the place there very well. And I was with Dan of Camp Life Bushcraft on that particular trip. About a year later, we were there again. I think perhaps I was picking up some fuel. I don't really know. And I saw the pound meatballs still at £1. I just had to buy them, of course.
Yeah.
There's a lot of personal laughing at oneself. That was good fun. Good fun.
Yeah, well, they do the job.
They
do
do.
the job.
For a pound.
For a pound, yeah, absolutely. But you make up for it because you like this stuff as well, the old speckled hen.
Indeed.
And I've seen
Indeed.
these lying in the corner of your hilly bird
Yeah.
as well. So,
Halfway through my.
halfway through. So
Yeah.
we've coordinated beers, haven't we?
We have.
Yeah. So I mean, this is what got myself and Mrs. Thorneh together in the first place. But we'll probably save that story for when we haven't got people listening.
Interesting.
So anyway, before we go on to model trains, we usually do a little section here where we basically talk for a minute or two each on what we've done the last few weeks. So Paul, do you want to kick off on that?
Yeah, do you know, it's been such a long time, hasn't it, since we've been probably about 4 weeks now since we've published a podcast, because we have another one coming out before this, don't we? So I'm going to get completely confused with where we are and what day of the week it is. But yeah, I'll talk about what I've been doing today, which has been trying to find an abandoned road, for want of a better word. Now, do you remember our friends Hedley, Hidden Wiltshire, did a blog, and I think they mentioned it in one of their podcasts as well, on a road called the Old Slow Coach. I don't know if you've read that, and you may have seen me waffling at Paul in the little chat group thingy we've got. And it really intrigued me ever since. I went, probably 3 or 4 months ago, I went to find a couple of the old milestones on there, because the assumption is if it's a turnpike road, they had these milestones. And I thought, okay, I want to do a bit more research on this, because turns out we couldn't find any reference to it being a turnpike road, yet it's got loads of these huge great milestones, 4 foot high, still in situ, kind of across Salisbury Plain, and it was a route that went from Salisbury to Bath. And I thought, right, okay, I need to really sort of delve into this. And today was the day. So I went down a huge rabbit hole of research. I haven't done any more visiting yet, but I will do. And I wanted to mention it on the podcast because it's such a fascinating thing. I've lost 8 hours today at home trying to find out more about the Old Slow Coach. The route between Salisbury and Bath, which is now abandoned, and I won't give too much away. But it's so easy to turn that into a story of the research, and sort of narrowing the dates down, and it's absolutely fascinating. I just little sort of nuggets. Yeah, it went within a mile of Imber, so you're kind of thinking, oh well, maybe it helps serve that village. And then I found all sorts of historical bits on British history, the website. And it turns out that there was about a 4 mile stretch of this whole route that was turnpiked. But it was only turnpiked for 16 years. So, you know, a next hour I've been trying to find out, well, why would a road only be turnpiked for such a short period of time? And I never knew. I get such joy in trying to research one road and why it's abandoned. So yeah, well, a fascinating little journey, which will be a video, because it would be a waste of 8 hours for it not to be a video. But the Old Slow Coach, watch this space. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
You did a video on Boudica as well, didn't you?
Boudica, that was great fun. Really enjoyed doing that. It took an insane amount of time to do, because I pretty much read 2 books to do the research. And I say read them, I kind of skimmed them as much as I could while still doing it justice. Turned it all into a script. A 12-hour day film. So we drove to St Albans, and then we drove a bit further north, and then we drove all the way back down to Ogbourne St George in Wiltshire. Filmed from 6 in the morning till 6 in the evening, and then I think I calculated, and you're going to mock me for how sad this is, but I think I spent 30 hours editing that video,
You could tell though.
Which turned into an 18-minute video. It was something I was quite proud of, but it's only just started picking up. So it's only just started doing the numbers. It took quite a while to get out of the blocks. but I put a lot of work into it, and I just thought I enjoyed it that much. I've got to do it some justice. You know, when you really enjoy something and enjoy the research so much, you think I need to kind of do this justice. And especially when you've had two. So I contacted the person that had wrote the book, and I contacted the other person that had done this archaeological style academic study. And I thought, you know, they were really helpful, lovely gents who really sort of, you know, no, you've got this bit wrong. Could you do that? Really super helpful. So I thought, I need to really do it some justice for them as well as me.
Yeah, Paul, the sense of sort of passion really just oozed out of you, the Biddigan video.
Oh, good.
Passion.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that's the goal, isn't it? Because I think, you know, if you enjoy it, tell people.
Well,
you know, there's so
obvious.
so many people that sort of will stand in front of a camera and think they've got to deliver a line in a professional way, but you just think, this is brilliant. I'm loving this subject. So just tell people you love it, because then they'll get it. You know, they'll get it as much as you do. I think. I just think just be honest and open with people. Just if you love it, shout from the rooftops that you love it. And you know, you must know as well, Warren, when you're, if we're watching a video of yours and you're just walking up the side of a mountain, you've got this massive smile on your face, and it's like, I like this video because this guy is loving what he's doing. And it's the same difference. There's zero difference, I think, in passion about a subject or just having this gleaming smile about, look at this, what we're doing today. So yeah,
Warren smiles in all of his videos.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah, that's a good point.
Grins even when it's
it's an infectious grin, isn't it? It really is, because it makes you feel like you're kind of, I don't know, not you're there with you, but it makes you feel really kind of happy yourself. This guy is like warm and happy and a big smile. So and I love that. That's great.
It's a more recent thing. If you look back at some of my older videos, going back sort of 3-4 years, they were not that style, and I don't like watching those older ones, but they're still there.
Yeah, you learn that. You learn to relax, and yeah.
I have noticed that Warren's videos nowadays, that he smiles throughout, nowadays always start and finish with a pub, and I reckon that's got something to do with it.
There might be an element of that, but yeah.
Actually, that's part of your videos that we haven't mentioned yet. You have done videos on pubs as well, and
I have.
My favourite was you were walking around. Was it Camden? I think in London.
Camden.
Yeah, what amazing
wonderful
pubs.
Collection of pubs and inns there.
Yeah. Yes, and we went to the Roundhouse, I think it was, to watch Crowded House, I think it was, and we were very, very early, and we did visit a few of those pubs. It was brilliant. So Warren, what have you been up to this last few weeks?
Well, generally busy. Yes, I've retired, but I have been working a little bit, sort of as a consultant, admin support, sort of 2 days a week. But today, well, it's April and Drive It Day. Don't know whether you know about Drive It Day. That's on Sunday coming up. Depends on how this recording date works. But the Sunday ahead of us today is Drive It Day, where a lot of people who have old cars are out on the roads driving their old vehicles for an hour or two. And I've got an old Hillman Imp. So I spent today... I don't know whether you know what Hillman Imps are. But
I think my father had one. He had one after an Austin A35. Before that, and a lovely green Austin A35. Yeah,
lovely.
Wow.
So today, this morning, was set about just getting it out of the garage and giving it a check over, giving it a top up of petrol, and drive around for a bit, checking everything over in time for Drive It Day on Sunday. So that was today.
Cool. And what's your most recent adventure? Because I think you actually have the videos are about a month after they're actually filmed, I think.
Yeah. So the last time I was in the Brecon Beacons, doing a trip there. I've been in the Peak District. So Peak District, I've been a couple of times, even since January. But that's a longer drive, so I usually try and do 2 or 3 days if I can do.
You had a wonderful sunset in one of your fairly recent Peak District videos. You went up past that reservoir. I think someone was doing some drone footage, and you pitched the tent I'm guessing it was facing kind of west, but you did a time
West
lapse.
over Manchester.
That's it, yeah. So you did a time lapse as the sun, because you were putting the tent up and you let the rest of us sit and watch the sunset.
Yes.
And the whole sky just burned red and purple. And you had it also on Sugarloaf Mountain in Brecons. I think it was the
Brecon Beacons.
sunrise, wasn't it, there?
Yes.
The beautiful sunrise with a cloud
Yes.
inversion. Wow,
Yeah.
that's what it's all about.
Oh, the cloud inversion as well. They are so special when the
Yeah.
clouds are below you.
Yeah,
It's like being in an aeroplane and looking out of the window on top of the clouds.
yeah. You see, that's what I want to open tent doors to. I wanna,
Yeah.
but-
Oh, it's very special.
yeah. Except most mornings I wake up and need the toilet and have to jump out of bed. Also have cramps, so it's not going to happen.
Well, most mornings looking out of a tent, it's quite often bleak and miserable and
Yeah, I know.
especially,
I know.
clagged down.
There's been a lot of videos recently, especially with these new Knorr tents coming out. I don't want to stray too much because, our core audience probably not tent connoisseurs, but they're videos that are becoming popular where people are trying to break expensive tents. So they take a Solo, an Acto, or I've seen a Vern 2 and a Vern 1, and they go up to the top of a mountain when they know it's going to be 70 plus mile an hour winds, and probably with a full intention to bail anyway. But
There has been quite a thread from some very large contributors on YouTube. We've mentioned quite a few already. That it's clickbait. It is clickbait, and really, it's not good.
No, it's not. And
Paul Messner's commented on it
has
in
he?
the past.
Has he? Paul Messner's a great channel to follow as well. He's been
Yeah, it must be very difficult, mustn't it? I always think when you're doing just that one subject, the story is you. That's it. The story is you and the adventure. If that's your sort of your living, it must be very difficult to sort of. I think Paul struggled in the past as well, where he's struggled with what else to do as such. It must be very the temptation to clickbait something is the worst weather. I understand it, but I don't condone it in any way, shape or form, because it's just you just need something
I will put
else.
a disclaimer. There was one guy. I won't mention his name on here, but he did have a big problem with his Vern 2 in high winds, but that wasn't clickbait because the winds were not meant to go that high. But Paul Messner's kind of the de facto person to watch if you're buying camping and outdoor equipment, and he's got quite a following as well. And as I say, you met him above Lenny Van der Vaart. That was really strange.
Coincidentally, yes.
You and Dan, and I can't remember who Paul was with, but it just happened to be the only other two people in that entire landscape.
Yeah.
And it's like a gaggle of outdoors YouTubers meeting in the same place in the middle of nowhere. It's absolutely fantastic. So, Paul, have you got questions for Warren about his garden railway?
Well, I mean, yes. Frankly, do you want to have a waffle? We haven't talked about what you've been up to, Hedley. Don't forget yourself.
Me, model railways. Oh,
You.
what have I done?
No,
the last...
not model
What have you
railway.
done
Well,
the
you can
last
talk about model.
week or two, yeah.
I think you should talk about model railways. I think you should.
I'm usually
You've explained your adventure today.
I'm lacking the self-indulgence that I usually have, to be honest with you. So I've done a few things. So it's been a long time since we did the Mariana Hotter podcast. That did really, really well, and we had some great comments, and she was absolutely wonderful guest as well. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And since then, I've been a couple of filming events. So one with yourself, Paul, and Darren from WC21 UK Productions Limited. We went over to the...
That was good fun, wasn't it? That was great fun.
That was great. Was it Fossway? I can't remember. But it was Fosbury Camp. Sorry.
Fosbury Camp, yes.
This is fun.
That was great. And then I teamed up with Darren again to do the Watlington White Mark video, which is pretty cool. And I went off to Cornwall. So I went down to Lou and Polperro. I lost my temper in Polperro. I had another car park problem. So
Oh, they do have issues, don't they? And I've seen a few videos now on those sort.
Okay, so the one on the Isle of Wight I went to. So there was, I can't remember what it was. A place with a pier. So I went went and you could only pay for car parking using their app. So I said, well, can I use my card? And the guy said no. Right, fine, okay, so I can only use the app. So I had no 4G signal at all. I went into a local pub. He said, go into the pub, they got Wi-Fi. So I went into this pub. I said, can I use the Wi-Fi? They said, if you buy something. Right, okay, thank you. I'd like 2 cokes and a Wi-Fi code, please. So got the Wi-Fi code, downloaded the app, went out, and I had a parking ticket. So and in Polperro it's the opposite. So we drove down to Polperro. The car park was quite empty, and they only took cash, and there's nowhere in Polperro to get cash. So you've got to then drive all the way back over the hills to Lou just to go to a cash point and get cash out, drive all the way back over the hills again just to see Polperro. So it's like, why can't these car parks just... Sorry, I'm middle-aged rant, but just take a card, take cash and card. That's all we need. You don't have to restrict yourself to one unpopular format of payment. Anyway, today, So today I've been Town Hill. I found some barrows on the western side, on a ridge to the west of Town Hill in Wiltshire that I didn't know about. So today I parked at the All Canning's Long Barrow, that Tim Dorr owns, walked up the ridge of Clifford's Hill, Rybury Camp, then up onto Town Hill. Then I went down the other side towards Cher Hill. I can't remember what it is. But I went down the other side, I followed the Wansdyke down, and then managed to find my way into some open access land, which I had to climb over an electric fence to get in. Yeah. So if the farmer's watching, open it up. And then I sent the drone up and got these barrows, which I'm really pleased of. And I went back up Town Hill, cooked my lunch, and then came down again. And the weather was amazing. I went to see David Carson for a coffee afterwards. But the weather today was amazing. It had beautiful broken clouds, and you've got all the oilseed rape in bright yellow, and the whole place was like from the top of Town Hill, looked like a patchwork quilt. It was absolutely amazing, and that'd be a nice place for wild camping, actually.
Oh, lovely.
And of course, then I went to Wales. In fact, I've got a few pictures for those on YouTube. For those not on YouTube, I'm going to have to kind of describe these pictures. So bear with me a minute. It's when they... Come on, Thorneh, you do this for a living. There we go. So that is, if you can see it, let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, we can see
So
it.
this
We can
is
see
the
it.
top
Well, I can see it.
Pickwis D, I think it's actually called. And I know Warren's camped up there seveal times, and that's
Indeed, yeah.
my son traipsing up there, and that was about 20 seconds before the clouds swept in. How do I come on?
Beautiful.
Oh, this is good. Yeah, my new computer can't take it. There we go. Oh, this is the right. So this is. I want to give a shout out to Wildman Camping. So this is the area where you've got the river coming down through the middle of the trees to the left. So what we got here is a picture of a valley, a very green valley, and in the background you can see the tops of what's actually called the Carmarthen Fans. So you've got Pickwis D to the right, and then Fan 4, I think it is, to the left. And in the valley below, so this is to the northwest, you've got this beautiful woodland with a fast water stream going through the middle of it. And you pay, I think it's 15 quid, and you get firewood and everything, a little farmhouse down there, and you can just basically go anywhere in the woods by the stream and pitch your tents. And so it's like
good.
wild camping, but for people like me that are nervous of, how do I put this bluntly, going number 2 in the wild, you have got a little toilet block there. So absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And from there, obviously, you can walk up the mountains. This is a ridge that Warren will be familiar with. So this is I don't know the name of the mountain, but this is the way up to Pickwis D above the lake, and again it's a huge
Beautiful.
shot. We found there was
So is that looking south?
that's looking north.
Is that looking north? So
Yeah, the lake's down to your right. So this is
to
the
the
end.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
And
Okay.
and when we were up there was this Welshman on a quad bike, and that part of Wales has got the strongest Welsh accent, and genuinely, with respect, and I don't want to lose any Welsh listeners, I didn't understand him at all. But he started, as he was talking to us, he started screaming at the top of his voice, and all of a sudden these horses started running up the hill towards him. So,
Wow.
yeah. Oh, look at me! Look at that! It's me on top of Big Steve, looking
Oh,
like a
beautiful.
fine figure there. That's my tent. Wow, Warren. So this is in the woods. This is my new Jack
nice.
Wolfskin Gossamer, and you'll notice the beers in it.
Yeah.
So it's a little
Yes.
little green tent. It's low profile, so it's fairly good in the wind, but it's lacking sort of lateral guy lines, and it's obviously a 3-season tent because it doesn't go all the way down to the ground. But
Doesn't quite,
Yeah.
but it looks a good tent.
it's
Yeah.
a good tent. The only slight issue in this case is that because I'm an amateur, I pitched it so that the head's down, so I had to sleep with my feet higher than my head, which is not great. And this is my favourite moment. This is
Oh, yes.
Linley Fan Fact. So this is the most beautiful lake, I think, in Wales. Absolutely gorgeous, and it's bordered to the south by the Carmarthen Fans, and there's the story of the Lady of the Lake here. So I think that the legend is there was someone from the farm, some boy went up, and the most beautiful girl in the world appeared from the lake, and I think the story is something like she promised she will marry him if he doesn't strike her 3 times. And anyway, they got married, had kids, etc., etc., and then he did strike her 3 times, and she disappeared into the lake, and then there's probably a long court battle ensue. I don't know. This is a slightly different shot. So this is from the north, looking towards the Fans in the south, and you've got a valley with the track going up, and it goes along the stream on the way up, and then you've got the lake just outside at the top. But here you've got the clouds pouring over the Fans like a wave, and
Beautiful.
absolutely beautiful. Anyway, that's it really. So how do I?
How
stop
high is that drone shot? That's a great
Well,
view.
it is. So
Can you legally answer
I
that?
can legally-
No, it'll
answer
be
that.
within limits, of course.
it's within limits. So
Yes, of course.
your legal limit is 400 foot above ground level, and we're actually on that little bridge in the centre just there. If I zoom in, we are just there, and it's well
Cool.
above where we are. It's probably about 1,100 feet above where we are. But the secret is I'm actually over the mountain behind us, so I'm still within the 400 foot above ground
Of course.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's it.
What's the Hedley? What's there's like a contour line. There's like a right at the top of the mountain
yeah.
ahead. There's like a line that's sort
Wow.
of deliberately cut. Do you know what I mean? It's like it spans more than one of the hills.
Yeah.
That is a waterway.
yeah, that's gonna be an act. Yeah, it is.
It is a
Yeah.
waterway. In the video,
Do you mean
So
it's a deliberately
So,
cut
yeah, no,
leak?
it
Yeah.
comes from the lake. So the lake is
it's
here.
concrete lined.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen it in that view. Of course, not having a drone, but it's
So what would be the purpose of that? Then? Is it like a leak?
it's a water collection route that collects
somewhere
water
over
from the other little rivers to the west.
Yeah.
You can see the 2 little rivers there. And
Yeah.
I found the beginning point of that. It's a concrete lined. It's about a metre and a half wide, easy falling gradient down into the lake.
Yeah. I'm
Concrete
also-
line, mostly straight.
I'm wondering if it's some kind of. So it seems to go off to the left here, and then maybe it drains into this other stream to the north.
No,
Ah,
it collects. If top centre of your view there,
Yeah.
if you can zoom in, right where your pointer is.
Yeah.
Yeah, just there, pretty well, maybe a little to the left. There's a collection point. There's a little dam, and a weir,
Okay.
and I checked that out just in January, February.
Oh, right. Okay. Wow. I didn't know that. In fact, I hadn't even seen that line, which is a bit strange. So yeah, and that's basically what I've been up to. So I think that's the longest what I've been up to
Busy.
section I've ever done. I've been. It's been really.
It's been a
really
while,
fun.
Eddie. To be fair, it's been a while since, like I say, a while since we've done a podcast. So
I'm going to be judging
lots to catch up
the
on.
Swire Arts Prize for photography next week as well, which I'm looking forward to. And I'm going to give a plug as well for something Anna and I are doing. We're doing Oxfordshire Art Weeks in May in her studio and garden. So if anyone wants to come along, see some of her paintings, see some of my photos, have a drink, look at her wonderful garden that looks across to the Chiltern Hills in the distance, then feel free to come along. And yeah, should be good.
Cool. Well, so is there like a link or anything for that, Hedley? Is there anything we can
there will be.
put in the description, etc.?
Yeah, about a month away, so I think we've got a link now.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the doobly-doo
Cool.
below. What's that on my glasses? My glasses of steel.
Super.
Okay, excellent. So, do you want
the
to talk about model railway?
Well, yeah. Well, when my kids were a little bit younger, not a lot younger, they used to watch people game, right? So you'd have people that would do Minecraft videos or just gaming videos, and the kids would go onto YouTube and watch other people play a game. And I never understood it. I said, well, why don't you go on the computer and play it yourself? Or why don't you go on the game and play it yourself or whatever? And I never quite understood why the kids could sit and watch someone else play a game. I'm like, I don't get it. But then I'd go like sit down, relax of an evening, put YouTube on and watch people build a model railway. And I'm like, hang on a minute. I'm doing what they're doing, right? This is the same thing. And that's why, and watching, Warren, what you've been doing in your back garden is just, it's like everything that comes before the final bit. And you don't necessarily really want to see the final bit, but you want to see the journey to get there. And I love that. I love watching people build model railways and kind of see inside their head of how they visualize stuff. And it's brilliant. And yeah, I've been enjoying your adventure. I've got lots of questions, which I won't bore everybody with now because it's all about electrics and stuff like that.
Well, that's a large
which
part
I never
of
really understand.
my garden railway, the electronics and control.
Yeah.
Haven't you got sensors?
But no, I've been...
Sensors where the train leaves a section or something.
Yeah, it's...
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what then, Warren. Yeah, is that how... So it's based on sensors to tell... So is it DC then, not DCC? Or is it... How does it work?
Well, it's a breed of system that I've devised myself. I call it the DLC, Distributed Logic Control, because there's no center.
Okay.
There's no center point, single center point. You know, can I just share where I started with this? So,
please do. Yeah,
you
please
know,
do.
the traditional train set that you have as a Christmas present, and that's where my father and I started. It was a Christmas present back in the 70s, I think. And you know, you got a train track going round and round and round, perhaps with points and a single controller. And back in those days, there wasn't the electronics at all, and that was great. You could make the train go faster, slower, backwards, forwards. Love it. But when you get a bit more complex, you know, there's multiple lines and multiple trains. You want to run more. You need more controllers, and that all gets very complicated. My father, like many millions of other people, you know, devised their own model railway to kind of maximise the number of trains that they can run. And I used to visit my father with my kids, and my dad would give a demo and my kids would take part. I'd have a go controlling the trains, and you'd run the risk of one train banging into another. And I, dead keen on my own railway, I decided, well, you know, it's great to share. So instead of, and this is the key essence, instead of operating my garden railway as a driver, and that's the traditional focus, isn't it? You know, the train controller, you are the driver, faster, slower, backwards, forwards. My railway does not operate like that. The brain, the control is as a signal person, to be inclusive.
I see.
So,
okay, yeah.
You know, there can be up to 4 or 5 signalmen, using the traditional word, to operate the garden railway, and the trains will respond to what the signal box is describing. And that is, you know, kind of the traditional sense of a real railway. It's the signal people that are actually in charge of when trains leave, stop, and turn different track routes. So I devised an electronic system that would satisfy that aim, that goal. It's taken some time.
Brilliant.
Not there yet.
I've just been enjoying you watching the sort of the laying the track and planning all that aspect of it, and then of course I've seen the bits you've done on the electrics and thinking, okay, well, as Hedley said, you've got it in blocks.
Yes.
So how does that look for you? Which now makes complete sense based on what you said. Absolutely.
Yeah, the block sections in the traditional sense.
Yeah. So is it always been garden for you, or is it, obviously you say you started with the smaller model railway?
Yeah, for me.
What else has there been in your?
For me, yes, is the garden. Previous house, I just didn't have any spare space for any kind of internal indoor model railway, so I started a very small garden railway with O gauge, the kind of medium sized, bigger than the 00. Great, loved it. Moved, changed job, moved to this place, and slightly bigger garden. Moved up to G scale, the 44 mil. A little bit more kind of resilient to the outdoors, really.
Yeah, I see that from the track for sure. What's the sort of availability of product in garden scale as opposed to? I mean, obviously the most popular 00 gauge and N gauge, I guess. But how easy is it to obtain stuff you want in garden scale?
For sure. Track, easy. I just use a well-known make of track, the Flexi track. That's easy to obtain. There's 2 or 3 model shops that I source that from. They usually need to order it in for me, but that's fine. The rolling stock, at the moment I've used Playmobil or LGB, which are German kind of toy train style. You've probably seen what I run. The plan is, as and when I can, is to make some. I've got the basic skills to make some. So I'll do that. I would really like to be able to run some UK English style trains, and then they're not generally available. There are manufacturers that do that, but few, and they are very expensive.
Yeah, sure. I mean, for me, it was very much a case of being brought up in the sort of the British Rail blue diesel era. So, my whole world was. Generally, we were 00 gauge indoor, like in a loft. We had a loft or the old garage, those sort of railways with my father, and I think part of the joy for me was very much we would spend a year building it, and we'd then use it and build stuff, and then we go, let's take it apart. And we just dismantle the year's work and then do it somewhere else in the house or the shed or sometimes the garden. We did garden railway from time to time, but we did it in 00 gauge. So it was a kind of an electronic disaster, weather disaster. We were forever trying to cover it, and it was hard
Did you
work.
have a particular region, Southern or Midland or Great Western?
No, not really, because we used to travel about quite a lot ourselves to go and see and watch trains. We used to go to Crewe, to Didcot, Hedley. We used to go, anywhere and everywhere to try and see something different. So we often modelled the south coast. So we often modelled like the Dawlish, the English Riviera, and tried to model that sort of thing. But then we just sort of just enjoyed the whole era. I love that era of that diesel locomotive. And if I've got N gauge at the moment, I haven't really set it up that well. It's small, I'm hoping I can. I've sort of built up a collection over the last decade or so, and I haven't really sort of delved into it properly yet. I've set things up as DCC at the moment, so all the trains are chipped. And I can use my phone to sort of control each one. Took an age to set up, but I just don't have the time to do it justice, which is a real shame. But
well, you're not old enough to remember the original. I think it was the original 01 from Hornby, 01 controllers. They go back to the I don't know when they go back to the early 80s, even late 70s, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we were clearly when we started. When I was like 5, it was the sort of the controllers, 2 knobs, 2 main lines. That was it, as you say. Go fast. Yeah, that's it. End the conversation. But yeah, no, yeah, happy memories for sure. Really, really good fun. And I ask about the whole stock availability because when you go to some exhibitions and that, and you look at the sort of the O gauge, it's just such an amazing sight to admire some of the stock. But then you look at the price and you think, oh, okay, that's £1,000.
Totally.
For that locomotive, and oh my goodness me, it's just you could. It's an endless pit of money you'd need, I guess.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So your modelling experience, was that more sort of running trains and track, or were you really exploring the line side architecture and trees and?
Yeah, as a kid, I was very much
Playing
into
trains.
I want to run stuff.
Run
Yeah,
stuff.
because
sure.
you just I want to see something running. You can visualise yourself. It's all good. But I think sort of my adult life, I hate electrics. I can never get my head around it. I even asked my dad now, who's 72, to come round and help me with the electrics. But I love the modelling. I love not necessarily building a kit, but I love sort of shaping the landscape. I hate a flat layout. I don't want just something flat, because look at any railway in this country and you're either going for a cutting or you're on an embankment.
For sure.
And I kind of think I want to visualise that on my railway, so I'm always trying to sort of cut polystyrene, basically, or sort of the insulation you get, the sort of the house roof insulation.
Well, you may follow Tony Northeastern. He runs a cracking loft model railway. Fine detail, really microscopically fine detail. His weekly videos, the usual sort of video length, and he'll just develop 1 or 2 small bits, and they're riveting. They're just gripping to watch. And I don't even do indoor railways anymore, but Tony Northeastern.
Brilliant. It's a fascinating thing. I wish if I had more time, I have considered setting up a little YouTube channel to do just that, but I just don't have the time at the moment. But I will do one day. Perhaps when I'm maybe 10 years older, I'll sort of delve a bit deeper into it again and see what happens.
Good, do it.
Happy memories.
I think you should. Yeah. You have to,
I honestly had the days I spent on the end of Didcot platform, the north end. One of them, not the fast lines, because the fast lines are just a bit boring and fast, and HST's going up and down it, 125. But watching what was Class 58s go in and out of the power station with a whole rake of coal.
I said before, I don't get it. I mean, I think I said this on a recent episode, that there were all these people like yourself, slightly nasal notebooks down the end of the platform.
That was me.
That's harsh.
And I saw. What was it? I think it was the Mallard came through the station. They didn't bat an eyelid. But then this diesel, from my point of view, generic diesel goes through. They're like, oh, look at that, and I'm like, oh God, really? This, that's like going to the Formula One, and instead of looking at 30 million quid race cars, going around the car park and going, oh, look at Ford Mondeo. I don't. Sorry,
That's fair comment. That's fair comment. I like the analogy. Hedley. But it's.
But there is something special with live steam.
Oh yeah.
I am of that age that doesn't quite remember the last dying puffs of steam on British Rail, but the early days of Bluebell Railway, very much in my mind, in my veins.
Yeah, I mean,
just to be stood next to a steam engine and just admire the engineering, and a steam engine to me is still of the era of not quite finished, but it's almost crafted from pure engineering in terms of the technology. There's no sort of technology, no computer, nothing. It's just pure making something work, sort of from a blank blueprint. An evolution of, 150 years, obviously, what we see now of a steam engine and what it was, but nevertheless, still the same principle. And I do love that. I appreciate that a lot.
If you stand on the end of a platform, you mentioned Didcot, etc. But if you stand on the end of a platform with a diesel engine throbbing away, just with a rake of carriages behind, and a steam engine that might not be making much noise, the diesel might be making more noise, but the sense of power and energy in the steam is just awesome. The diesel just kind of throbs away. It's got to be steam. It's got to be steam.
I get where you're coming from, because I get the same with a Boeing 777.
Okay.
But this is the thing, you see, Hedley. You could recognise. Yeah, you could recognise, the sound of an aircraft, I'm sure, or whatever. Give me any.
Impressive.
It's incredible how regular they were. When the power station, when Didcot A was functioning, the coal-fired power station, it's amazing how regularly they were coming in. I mean, the amount of coal that thing got through was phenomenal. I seem to remember, I used to sort of cycle over the bridge and around there, and you see this great big long train go in. God knows how long it was. Every single cart completely piled up with coal, and then half an hour there'd be another one. And you think, wow, yeah, okay. So yeah. But that's the power station. To me, it was more than the sum of its parts, wasn't it? The power station, in its own right, it was a big engine, so to speak. It was incredible. Yeah. Boil a few kettles, give it credit. Yes. So, Warren, I need to ask about your hat.
Oh, my hat. Okay.
Hat. So you've been in all your videos.
Where's this going to go? Yes.
No, it's you've got this in your videos, your explorer videos, as I call them. You wear this rimmed hat.
I do.
Even when the rain's pelting down, the wind, and you put something over it, you're still wearing your hat. Yeah. So it's a nice hat, don't get me wrong, and hopefully get to see it next week when we go walking up a Welsh mountain.
There we are.
With Sam Walks a lot. But I did wonder, because it suits you and everything. How long have you had it? And
I've had the hat probably the better part of 20 years, maybe a little less.
Oh, okay.
I bought it actually at a canal barge shop. Family holiday, was a wet week. Decided I needed a hat, and they were offering these hats at a reasonable rate. But it was just something to keep the rain off, really. And that's where it started. And yeah, I just keep wearing it because it's very good for keeping the rain off. Turn the sides up, hood up, and it's just like a peak cap, really.
Yeah. So
and in the sun, keeps the sun off the back of the neck.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of good all year round, isn't it? It serves a purpose at every point of the year in every condition. So, but yeah, I'm saying the reason I ask it is it is a very distinct hat that you've got. And, if you were walking over there, a mile over there, I'd probably recognise it's you, sort of thing, which is really great. So, regards walking, what sort of, we were talking before about, was it the North Downs Way? Are you got plans to walk that, or the Ridgeway, or maybe the one that I was going to offer to you is the Wayfarers Walk as well? The sort of
Wayfarers is another very good. Yeah. So, sort of working backwards, got a plan with Dan Camp Life Bushcraft to do the South Downs Way in the summertime. We've both got some family holiday time available, so we've booked a week in to do that. I think we've identified 8 days to do the South Downs Way. I haven't done a long distance path for a very long time. I'm not sure Dan has either.
No.
So I've got in mind to do some of the North Downs Way. It's a bit nearer to me.
Yeah. The South Downs Way is long. It's 100 miles.
It's 100 miles, yeah. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Coastline and everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
I kind of know most of the areas patches as you go along, and arriving in Eastbourne, I know the Beachy Head, South Downs there so well from years and years back. It's just a beautiful area.
It is.
So North Downs Way, going to have a bit of a crack at that. Probably do part of that solo, just the first bit, couple of nights or something.
I think that's
Ridgeway as well. Now, Hedley, I've become interested more again in the Ridgeway, just because of the fascinating bits of history that
it's peppered with history, and going back to something that Marianne Hotter said in either the previous episode or the episode before, depending on how we release these podcast episodes. It's got a lot of what's called persistent places along it, and she mentioned this on social media today. It's a place that has always drawn people for some reason, be it religious or any other reason. So we're looking at places like Avebury, where you've got multiple layers of history. You've got, the Ridgeway being 5,000 plus years old, West Kennet Longbarrow there being 5.5, maybe 6,000 years old, and then you've got newer things like Silbury Hill, just over 3,000 years old, Avebury itself being a couple of thousand. So all of these different places, and you've got layer upon layer of history separated by thousands of years, and yet it's always gravitated towards these places. Uffington is another one. So
yes,
Uffington, you've got the White Horse, you've got the Hill Fort. In fact, you've got 3 Hill Forts in total. You've got the Wayland Smithy there as well. So you'll find with the Ridgeway, you'll come across these places, and you would have recognised them from various sort of media that you've seen before, and then suddenly it's there in front of you. It's a really great thing. There's a lot of variety as well. So the Ridgeway is basically in 2 halves. You've got the Chiltern section, starting at Ivanhoe Beacon, which is gorgeous, and that is very it's like a footpath. It sort of goes in and out of woods and this, that and the other, and it goes up and it goes down, and then you cross the Goring Gap, and then the Ridgeway changes character. It follows the ridge of the Berkshire Downs, or rather the North Wessex Downs, all the way to Avebury, and you've always got kind of a drop to your right, and it's much wider, so it does change its nature halfway along. But some wonderful places, some good pubs as well, some wonderful places to go along. Some nice towns as well. You'd love the Ridgeway. With the Wayfarers Walk is a bit different. Wayfarers Walk I think it's kind of a newer invention based on old paths, but again it follows the ridge of the hills along on the North Hampshire Downs, and that's even higher up than the Ridgeway. So it's beautiful, but it's not cared for in the same way as the Ridgeway. So you find yourself having to sort of cross obstacles and muddy bits and this, that and the other, but it's worth it. It's really, really worth it. So
I've got a bit of an issue with unmanaged paths. I don't know whether you saw a video that I put out with a blocked path and a tied up gate. That was really irritating, and it had grown over the years, hadn't it? And I did some research looking at Google Maps, using Google Maps for a good reason. And that the walking man showing how the path route had been overgrown for years. I find it hard to believe that the path has not been kept clear. But
your video showed it at different stages, didn't it? So you went to Street View and you changed the year, and you could see that 1 year it was kind of a defined gate, and there it was, and then obviously they'd sort of shut the gate, and then the next year there's a bit of undergrowth, and then there's bushes growing around it, and eventually it just vanishes almost entirely.
And what county was that in, Warren?
Well, Brecon Beacon.
Oh, was
National
it?
Park.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
it's just a bit I used to cycle by. It's weird. It's kind of, that's a mountain on its own there, isn't it? You've got a valley either side, and you look across to Llangorse Lake.
Yeah.
Vicious cycle climb. Yeah.
I think it's always definitely worth reporting anything like that. Just even if you know nothing's going to happen, at least you've logged it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
How do we report that? Do you know, Paul?
It's with the council, the local county council.
Yeah.
I mean, and they all vary on how they want it done, which is a bit frustrating. Wiltshire are great. Wiltshire have got a really good app They say you can only do it by app, so that's fine.
Right.
And just prepare yourself for it. So take a couple of screenshots of an OS map, take a couple of pictures, make sure you've got the GPS location. So prepare yourself, then go on the app and just follow the steps. And Wiltshire, to be fair to them, yeah, it is a very easy app to use. You upload the pictures you've just taken, all the screenshots as evidence. You can kind of upload what you like as proof that that it's blocked or it's removed or whatever's happened to it. I mean, we came across one the other day. Rebecca and I were trying to film the Boudica video, the bit where we kept on pointing at the river. So I don't know if you remember that bit, but that was kind of like someone's driveway, but it was actually a bridle way, right? Literally a bridle way, and I even got that in shot. Not deliberately, but I got it in shot. And we got 100 yards further down where we were, and we got to this house that was like, we were like walking down someone's driveway, but that happens. And we kind of stopped outside this person's house because there was just a fence. There was a wired barbed wire fence, 3 or 4 foot high.
Wow.
All new, going to the river. So house to the river. So there was this isn't a pathway, this is a bridle way. And we stood there and I said, oh, well, maybe we've gone the wrong way, Rebecca. This is a bit embarrassing. Got the maps out, got the OS out. No, we're definitely, the bridle way goes right alongside this river. So we're definitely in the right place. And of course, this lady comes out of her house and she starts going, oh, hello, are you lost? I'm like, well, no, we should be able to just go along here. Have we got the wrong area? Oh, no, this pathway closed a few years ago. They closed it because of the farm. I said, are you sure about that? So I was ready. I was like, I'll bring it, Mrs. Bring it. So I said, oh no, I'm pretty sure this is a bridle way, and they wouldn't just close it. Oh no, you have to go round this way and up that lane, 2 doors down, past the post box, blah blah. And I said, no, I'm pretty sure I can walk through here legally. Well, they did close it, and I said, okay, well, I'll report this. Do you mind if I take a couple of pictures? Okay, yeah, that's fine. So I just did the thing and took some pictures. But yeah, it's a bridle way, so I could have ridden a bike down there, a horse or whatever, but I couldn't walk it, let alone do the other things I was allowed to do. But it's so frustrating that happens. And she was as guilty as the farmer who owned the field that side, because in theory it's her fence. It shouldn't be a fence there. So my turn for a rant. Ugh.
It's annoying, especially when there's no alternative. And I think it's like Warren's video. If there's a footpath that's been blocked off, but it just means you go around a bush instead. Okay, fine, it's not the end of the world. But where you're talking about, Warren, is actually a very steep slope going up quite high.
Yes.
And it's just kind of it's rude, really, isn't it?
And it didn't even go anywhere to a house or anything. There was no property. There was no particular field. It was just going to a route along the side of a river. And there wasn't any apparent reason for them putting the wire and the string to keep the gate closed.
I think Hidden Wiltshire...
And the extra hire.
Yeah. I think Hidden Wiltshire highlighted one where actually good came of it. There was a footpath, I think it was going down Luckham in Wiltshire, again, gorgeous valley, and footpath went basically through the back of someone's garden, and so they wanted to close that off, but to do that they actually created a much better footpath that was further back, still on their land but further back, and then closed it off. And that's the way to do it. If a footpath, if you're a landowner and a footpath is annoying you on your land, well then you can't just close it. Provide a better alternative. Because that foot right of way has been there for years. So I get it.
Yeah, that's the point as well. A right of way is a right of way, and it has been there for hundreds of years. And if you buy a house, it's got a right of way for it. You buy a house, it's got a right of way for it. Yeah, you're buying a house. You're not, and an alternative is a thing. But,
even temporary closures, they're allowed. I was in the Peak District again, just January, February, walking up towards Stanage Pole from a sequence of reservoirs, red reservoirs, and this trail, ancient, how many thousand years I couldn't possibly say, but it's an ancient trackway, and there were loads of signs to say the route was closed. I initially took it because it was closed for vehicles or farm sort of vehicles, for forestry work, and that's fair enough, isn't it? Forestry for safety, they've got to keep people away for everybody's safety. But there was no indication it was closed as a footpath, so I traipsed up. There was no alternative for that sort of 2 or 3 kilometres. I got to the top and found that there was another sign to say it was closed, and did I feel guilty? I mean, I talked about feeling a little bit guilty, but met a chap a little bit further up on a bike. He said he'd been cycling that way for 6 weeks because the forestry work had been done 6 or 7 weeks prior, and they just hadn't reopened it.
Yeah.
And there was no alternative.
So no one had taken
with a
no
full
one had taken the signs
rucksack
down, basically.
And this is absolutely an ancient right of way.
Yeah, it's happening more and more. I mean,
irritating.
It's irritating. I had a walk cut short in Cornwall the other week, and even today, as I said earlier, there was a open access area which is meant to be accessible but there's no way to it. You have to go over an electric fence. Paul, you've covered several of these points, haven't you? One or two of your focuses of access land that you just simply cannot get to.
We've done that a couple of times. Yeah. You don't want to make too many of those videos, but also you kind of think you should use your voice to try and make people aware of these problems. But it comes with a whole set.
But when the areas are designated as they are on the map, right to roam and all of that, surely at that time the logic would be, well, how do you get there? Surely there is that logic in the designation of the space, but there appears not.
I think it was just put through as a specific type of downland is now automatically open access, and as you say, that's it, end of conversation. There was no discussion on how do we get to to that bit of open access land. I don't know. It's a forever continual problem that won't readdress for some years, I'm sure.
Generates comments on the videos as well.
Oh god. That's why I don't like doing those videos too much, because I feel like it does harm the channel in some ways, because we've bred a country of people that are sympathetic to that ilk of person that blocks a right of way, and I don't understand it. But as we said, we're not getting into politics, but goodness me. Basically.
So, talking of things that are irritating, do you think it's time for treasure hunt?
Let's get...
Not irritating at all.
You're doing the map, Hedley, aren't you? I was about to get a map up, but
no.
You're doing the map.
I don't trust you, so I'm going to put the map. Just kidding. Let me find the window to share. Here we go. So, you should any minute. For those on YouTube and Paul and Warren should see a map showing the centre, the absolute social, economic centre of the known universe, which is Didcot. So
there it is.
We'll do hot or cold. So we'll start with Warren. So basically, if you want to go east or west, or if there's any roads you want to go on, or railways.
Well, now then, I'm going to drift west, just with the idea of the Brecon Beacons, which is the nearest. Oh, that's a bit stretchy. So west. Let's go west.
So unfortunately,
distance-wise,
unfortunately, you're getting colder.
Oh no, that's not good then.
It's not great. So going over to
I need to have a bit of a route.
Yeah.
Whether I'm following an old trackway, a railway, I could follow a railway.
This is not a great one today, I'll be honest with you. It's a bit.
It all adds up, Headley. It all adds up. I mean, we should probably
off badly, so.
I think we should probably head south then, Hedley, because otherwise we're... Really?
It's not good.
Well, we can't go south either.
So let's stop at Chiltern.
Chiltern. Yeah. Oh, okay. So we're not far from sort of Churn Holt there, are we?
No, you're not. And Mount Skippy, I think it's called, which is
Mount Skippy.
Yes, I think it's called Mount Skippy, which is a barrow that's near Cheltenham. But anyway, Skip It, Mount Skip It. There we go. So,
Okay. Well, we better head towards your place of work, Hedley. Perhaps in that case, then, should we?
well, okay, you're heading in the right direction, but that's quite a big step.
Oh, we're going a long way now.
I think we're going too far, Paul. So I'm going to.
All right. Well,
drift
yeah.
or
I mean,
halt here we're currently Henley
drift-
on Thames.
drift.
So
Okay.
Henley on Thames. Are we going to go north, south, east, or west?
Well, over to you, Warren. What do you think?
Well, Henley, now we're looking at the Thames there, so I'm tempted to go upstream on the Thames a little bit.
Okay.
So following it around.
So upstream is south. Unfortunately, that is cold. It's usually Paul that gets the bad luck on this. It is luck, but it's bad luck, I'm afraid.
Right.
So we're now in Harpston, Paul. Over to you.
Harpston. So if we stayed on the Thames and went downstream, is that an idea?
It is for a while, so you're getting warmer.
Okay.
So
Okay, we'll do that.
Let's go up to Hambledon.
We'll do that for a bit.
Yeah, okay, so
What-
we'll stop at Hambledon. You're warmer.
Oh, Hambledon. Hambledon is an interesting place because there was a mass grave of very young children, was there not, found there?
I think so.
I think of the Roman era.
I've
I
many
believe.
memories of Hambledon. I did the chalk stream job there recently when I was going around the Hambledon Brook.
Oh, so is that a chalk stream that
It's a
comes
chalk
down
stream.
from the
In
north?
fact, it's a winterbourne, so it's
Okay.
only there in the winter. It's also the place where I saw the. Now it was the world's highest skydive without a parachute. The guy landed
Scary.
at Hambledon. Yeah, so
Right.
basically
Okay.
it was
Okay.
a big inflatable thing. They put, I think it's near Greenland's, just there, and he landed on that.
Righto.
There's a long distance path marked. I can't quite read on the scale of zooming. Oh yes, there we are. Shakespeare, is that Shakespeare's?
Shakespeare's
Well, I
Way,
don't
yeah.
know that route.
Well,
yeah.
just by going that way, you're a bit warmer.
Okay.
So we go up the brook then, Hedley,
Up the brook,
basically,
yeah. Okay, you're a bit warmer, yeah. So the brook
Right.
goes up here. So you're at Turville. Now,
I feel like we're not far from your abandoned church somewhere around here. Bix.
Bix, yeah, oh yeah, Bix is down here.
I feel like we're in that neck of the woods,
So, yeah,
maybe.
Bix is it's over here. Sorry, Bix is here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh yeah, there you go. I can see
yeah,
the
okay.
old kiln.
So let's
Yeah.
head north back to where we were a little bit. So we're getting we are getting warmer now.
Okay.
So let's zoom out.
Well, there's a bit of the M40 there.
The M40's above
Oh
us.
dear. Yeah.
We want to. I'll be honest with you.
Keep
we're-
away from that.
Keep away from the M40, yeah. So north. So we've done south. So it's basically east or west.
So I mean, we should probably head north west then, Hedley. Do you think?
Yeah, you're right.
Ipsden.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
I mean, we're getting on towards the Icknield Way, aren't we?
We are. Which runs.
Oh, is this your video with what's his face?
It
Dan.
is.
Sorry,
It
what's
is.
his face? How rude.
It is.
WC21 UK Productions Limited.
I did have another subject for this episode, but I wanted to talk about this video.
Okay.
So now this is, I'm cheating a little bit because this isn't, although it's within Oxfordshire, it isn't strictly within within Wessex. It's just outside of Wessex. So sorry about this. Anyone who's a Mercian listening will be happy, but anyone from Wessex will not be. So this just above the town of Watlington. For those that have seen the video, I apologise. I'm going to talk
Yes.
about it a little bit, but I would imagine a lot haven't. So
Well worth talking about. Great.
it was
Lots
brilliant
of fun.
Brilliant fun. So I spoke with Darren Spratt from WC21 UK Productions Limited, former podcast guest, about a video that I've been wanting to make on this particular white mark you see just here on the hillside. So it's a triangular white mark, and it faces. So here you've got the scarp of the Chilterns running roughly north to south. and it faces west above the town of Watlington. So here you see the town of Watlington. Now there are many theories about this white mark on the hill. It's big as well. It's I can't remember how big it is, but it is big. The leading theory is just above the ridgeway, by the way, which is running along the bottom here. The leading theory is that going back a couple of hundred years, 300 years in fact, Squire Edward Horne lived in the manor house, was a little bit upset that the local church didn't have a spire. So it was a little bit common, and I think that there was a little bit of church envy going on. Now I believe the parish council didn't want to build a spire, and Edward didn't really want to fund one, so he had one cut into the hillside, and so the legend goes that from his manor house he can now look at the church and the spires on the hill behind. So Darren and I decided to look into this, and we started our video up here at the National Trust car park and walked down to the spire to have a look at it, and sure enough it could look like a church spire. So people on YouTube see me sort of going around it now. So the next thing we did is we went down to the actual church to have a look. Now the church is quite some way from the spire on the hill. In fact, there's the spire and spoke. Good place to stop and eat if you're on the ridgeway. And the church is St Leonard's, and it's just here. So here's St Leonard's Church, beautiful church, very, very nice church. I know the vicar, Reverend Daniel Thompson, lovely guy. And so Darren went here, well I went to find the manor house. Now there is only one manor house in Watlington, and it's over here, back up in the hills. So the problem we have now is, as you can probably imagine, is that the manor house, oh silly windows, go away. The manor house, here it is behind the spire. So there's the manor house, the spire is to the west, and then the church is further west, which doesn't make sense because the church should theoretically be between the spire on the hill and the manor house. So that sort of got us a little bit foxed. And the great thing about this video is we genuinely didn't know how it was going to end. We hoped that at some point we could use my drone with its telephoto camera to try and replicate the view of the church with the spire. So the only thing we were left to do is to draw a line from the spire through the church and out to the west. Unfortunately, there's nothing there. There's just some fields and a housing estate. So we thought, well, okay, let's really go west. Let's go all the way out here. And eventually you get to this little place. This is called Glebe Mill. It's not a manor house at all, but it does line up with the church and the spire. So this got me quite excited. So we went down into the fields, and I sent the drone up, but again it was very difficult to think, well, how come a mill is involved in this? It was, you know, the story says that Edward Horne lived at the manor house. So it turned out this is a manorial mill, so it's actually owned and run by the manor house. And of course Edward Horne owned the manor house. In fact, he owned lots of property around here. So I sent the drone up just to annoy the residents of the mill. What did I call it again? Not Glebe Mill, is it? Anyway, it's one mill, Pit Mill or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. So I sent the drone up to about where I'm looking now. And the problem is there's a hill in the way. So just here where my mouse is a hill. And the white mark is behind it. So it doesn't work. So we were really confused as to why this is the case. Could it be that maybe Edward Horne walked along the top of the hill, and you know, it didn't make sense. So anyway, we were sort of packing up to go away, and we drove back. And just as we started driving back, I said, well, let's send the drone up again, and let's just find the place where it touches the spire. And we'll zoom in and we do it like that. And it turns out it's just here, kind of where the mouse is in the middle of the field. So this is actually Glebe Farm. So I got the previous name wrong, but yeah, this is Glebe Farm. And we sent the drone up, and you can't really see it on the screen, but in the distance you can see the white mark, and it lines up perfectly with the church. And I didn't want to fly over their garden, but if you were to go into their back garden, where the cursor is now, you would see the tower lining up with the spire. So we did we had a bit of a research on Glebe Farm. As it happens, it was owned by the vicar. So the vicar actually had it built. So we're wondering whether Edward Horne basically did the vicar a favour for, as he retired, to make his church look like it had a spire on it. But it didn't quite end there. The video did. But we've had comments since saying that just to the northwest of Watlington is another place called Purton. And in Purton you've got this big manor house here. Now this manor house has got a church nearby, which at the time would have belonged to the manor. And sure enough, if you draw a line through the manor and the church, you get to the spire. So we don't, but the spire is wrongly orientated. So what we think happened was Edward Horne maybe the local vicar had a bit of a thing going on with the vicar of this church, St Mary's Church, and so to try and elevate his church above St Mary's Church, he got Edward Horne to put a spire on the hill, because a bit more research shows that from this church there used to be a footpath along here, and just as it crosses this hill it would have had the same view as from Glebe Farm. So that's where we are with that. But the story of the white mark, still a bit of a mystery, but it is starting to come together. And I know that the Watlington group published our video as well. It did really, really well. I've only got a small channel. Darren's got a bigger channel, but even for him, I think this was his most popular video ever. For me, it was my second most popular after a freak video I did on Formula 1 years ago. But yeah, so anyway, that's the Watlington white mark. That's where we are. And to be honest with you, the investigation continues, and I think we're on the verge of saying we actually need to do a follow-up video.
Can I come up with a theory?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, there was allegedly photographic evidence, and Paul knows this, of a house that appeared and then disappeared very near Stonehenge. Now, could it be that there's another manor house that actually isn't in brick now, that was?
Yes. And
just briefly. There we are.
We think
just in the right place.
Near, or almost in the right place. This is the problem. It's because for this. So that manor house was up here. Somewhere up here. We found it up here somewhere. The problem is it almost lines up with a white mark, and it's probably realistically a little bit too far away.
Okay.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. There used to be a manor house there. So we're not quite there yet. The church definitely has a tower. This spire definitely lines up with a tower at a certain point and looks like vaguely like a church with a spire. Excuse me. It does line up with the Purton church as well, but it doesn't look right. The Purton church is a lot smaller, and it's got one of those sort of simple, sort of single wall bell towers, so the spire wouldn't make any difference, and it's at the wrong angle as well. It would be sort of off like that as well. So yeah, it's definitely the spire is definitely orientated towards St Leonard's Church, but it's just who for and where. But yeah, we closed.
Yeah, good stuff. I love a little mystery. Love a little mystery. It's all good.
Yeah. So our next video is probably going to be, because there's one I'm writing with you as well, Paul, in the early stages of, but for Darren, the next one should be on the finding the location of the Hatchdown, and we're going to enlist the acting capabilities of Anna Dillon on that as well.
Sounds good. Love it.
That's going to be quite good. Yeah, let's see if she's a good actor as well as a good artist. I did have other questions for Warren, but as you both know, we had a bit of a Microsoft-related glitch, and they were all in the meeting invite that I sent out, and I've lost the meeting invite. So I've kind of been winging it. This is the first podcast I've done without notes.
That's all good. It's all good.
Sorry, it's been a little bit all over the place from my side. So yeah, and the next adventure I've got is in a week's time, as I said, with Warren and Sam. And we're going to, because it's actually, I mean, you're a real mountain goat, aren't you, Warren? Because you're going up the following day.
We like mountains.
Yeah,
I am.
You are. You're going all the way back to the same place
Yeah.
the following day.
Following day. That's been a long-standing arrangement. Yeah.
Yeah, but as I say, you'd never turn down the opportunity to go up mountains.
No.
I have to explain I'm very slow going, really
That's
really
fine.
slow. So, bring a heavy rucksack and put a child in or something, just to try and match my weight. But yeah, we're going to do Pen Cedig Calch.
Had a cat up from Table Mountain again.
Table Mountain again, yeah.
Super good.
So it's a route I know, so I want to, for the time being, do routes I know, and then I'll start venturing elsewhere again. So yeah, it's good.
Brilliant.
Super.
Right. Well, should we read?
We'll probably have
comments?
a lot from the last one, won't we? Because that was obviously with Marianne, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
so the problem is we've had 2 videos. In fact, if we're releasing the other one,
Yeah.
probably 3, but we don't have those comments yet. So what I've done is I've just extracted a few comments from the previous 2 videos. So I need to apologise to everyone. We usually try and read out most of the comments. So if you want to comment and you want it read out on the next episode, type your comment below and give the video a like as well. And we'll see if maybe we can read out a few more. So we do have, we've probably got about 80 comments. So I've basically just, whilst we've been talking, I've extracted 5 to read out, to be honest with you. So he says, Stuart Bridger, 5177, another great session, some great inspiration for walking that we will have to take up. Regarding shooting, as long as you're on public footpaths, there should be no issue. All shoots we have encountered close to footpaths have been polite and friendly. We usually ask if it is okay to proceed or wait until the end of the drive. They can't stop you, basically. That is appreciated, and we've never been asked to wait. We're now out of season, so it should be all clear to the autumn. That's in relation to the video, the walk I did in Hampshire, North Hampshire Downs, where there were a few shooting sessions. Malcolm Richardson 3881, he says, really fascinating discussion of some important issues, not least the role of archaeological investigation and historical narrative in the interpretation of artefacts such as hill forts. I found your nuanced discussion of Wheeler very enlightening in challenging his overly romanticised interpretation with the more forensic investigation by Sharples and Russell.
Yeah, that was the Maiden Hill Fort. We must have spoke to Marianne about that as well.
Yes.
I guess. Yeah.
We did, yeah. Yeah, we did. That
Hence
was
the comment,
the Marianne one. Jim Donahue, well done, guys. Thoroughly enjoyed this. Great banter. I also looked up atavistic, so harking back to Tweedy now. But more importantly, learned the term persistent places, as we talked about just now. A term I was searched for in my upcoming book about the Thames Valley, for places like Dorchester-on-Thames, Taplow and Gatehampton near Goring, that I was just calling sites of strategic historical importance through the ages. So Jim, I know Jim, he, myself and Anna went up Lowbury Hill recently. He's a really nice chap, really nice chap, and he's writing this book, and it's going to be really good. A book about the Thames Valley.
Oh, I know the guy. Have you been out with him, have you? Oh, is he Lambourne direction?
Yeah.
I think he's based in Lambourne.
Something like that. Yeah, but he's doing the the book on the sort of the local Thames going through my area. So I can't wait to see that. And I think he's using one of my pictures as well, which is cool. I can't read this name. Cakey for 499. Great episode. I'm really glad I started watching the podcast. I finished the backlog today. Wow. And just watched this episode. That's just a hardcore fan, isn't it? It's just fantastic. The latest had some very nice YouTube channels to follow as well. I found that because I'm, WC21 Tweedy and that I noticed a lot of people from this podcast now follow their channels as well. So we've got a bit of a community. He said, I very much like the fact that Mary Ann, a professional, appreciates the work of you two dorks.
No, 100%.
That's harsh.
Talks to you
Harsh,
on
but
equal
very
levels.
fair.
Shows how much effort you put into your work. Can't deny it. Oliver Hunter, what a great episode. One of the best so far. Totally interesting all the way through. Loved Mary Ann too. She's amazing. I've just ordered her books. Thank you very much. So,
Cool.
Good. So yeah, it's been great. I mean, it's been a while since the previous episode, and it's just been great to have Warren along. Everyone follow Warren on YouTube. I think you said you are on Instagram as well, but
I am, yes.
Yeah, you are a YouTuber, and so Linleys 360. Let me just share.
We'll stick that as well in all the descriptions. The people will probably have to go along to the YouTube
we'll
to click on the link, obviously.
Bunch of topics.
Yeah, exactly. But this is Warren's channel, so look out for this sort of circular red badge on his channel, and some great videos. Really jealous of his tent, really jealous of his expeditions. One day I hope I can do stuff like that. But yeah, just have a look. You won't regret it. So yeah. Oh, hang on. How do I stop sharing? I do this for a living. Oh, stop sharing. They've updated Teams.
There we go.
Yeah. So thank you for coming along, Warren. And
thank you very, very much for inviting me. It's been great fun.
We didn't even talk much about pubs and beer, but maybe
No, we didn't.
Maybe a future time.
Well, there we are.
So,
There's more.
Yeah. Incidentally, Old Speckled Hen. Do you remember the story? So
Yes.
So for Paul, I don't know if I told you this. Old Speckled Hen. It's you see this sort of octagonal kind of logo around it. So that is from the MG logo.
Yep.
And MGs were made in Abingdon. And a very, very big factory. And to get parts from one part of the factory to the other, they actually invented and built a one-off car. And it had a bit of a paint defect, so they called it the Old Speckled Hen. And that's where Old Speckled Hen, which was brewed by Moorlands and Abingdon, gets its name and badge from. And of course, it's now been bought by Green King, so it's changed a little bit. I can't say good or bad, but it's still a great beer.
There we go, fantastic.
Yeah, definitely worth the extra weight in the backpack.
Always.
Wonderful.
Right. Okay, so thanks everyone. Please
Thank you.
like and comment, and we'll try and read out more comments. And we will see you next time. Thank you very much.